Alright, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. We're getting into another episode of the original X-Men run. This is episode 3 of season 1, entitled Enter Magneto. So, at the beginning of this episode, it picks up right after where the prior episode left off. Of course, this is one of the first shows, in my mind, as far as animated shows, back in the day, back in the early 90s, that had a continuing storyline that arced throughout the entire series. You know, the vast majority of shows back then would have had standalone shows, or maybe two-parters, maybe even three-parters, but to have an entire season that had one overarching story run right through the whole thing was pretty much unheard of. Now, I believe that this was the first. Let me just turn this phone to mute. I may be wrong. If I am, please feel free to correct me in the comments. So, at the beginning, we have Beast sitting in a prison cell. Of course, the attack on the mutant registry was foiled by the Sentinels. He was captured. Morph was killed. We'll just stick with that for now because I know where we're going with it. But yes, Morph was taken out. Beast was captured, so he's in this cell. He's reading a copy of Animal Farm, and he's getting taunted by the guards. That that's look at the book that he's reading, Animal Farm. He's just looking at the pictures. Are you seeing any family members on there? So you're seeing the hatred once again of the humans against the mutants. There's an attack happens on the prison at this point, and the wall busts out, and a Beast comments that Wolverine has been hot-headed as usual, so he's expecting Wolverine to burst through the wall. But Magneto turns up and offers Beast a way of getting out. Of course, Magneto's plans is mutant liberation, and he's pretty much anybody he comes across mutant concerned, he'll offer them a part in his revolution. So Beast turns him down flat. He's like, I'm waiting for my day in court. We've got a plan. Professor Xavier and I feel that if I can go to court, beat the case, it's going to make people trust us more. So Magneto is surprised to hear the name Professor Xavier, and yeah, they have a back and forth that humans can't be trusted. They need to be taken out in Magneto's mind, but Beast is holding on to that idealistic thing that Professor X has, that we can coexist at some point. So Xavier, Magneto leaves. Beast actually puts his own restraints back on his feet, and Magneto fights the forces outside, the guards, and there's tanks, there's everything there at this point shooting at him, and he's using this power, his magnetic powers, to actually crush tanks, take guns apart in the guards' hands, and he actually dismantles an entire tank around a guy, and all's left is the seat he's sitting on, and he drops to the floor. So we cut over to the mansion. Professor X and Jubilee there watching the news report on TV, and you're seeing what's happening. He goes through his history with Magneto. He refers to him as Magnus, and the two of them worked in the hospital after a war. And Magneto's parents, family, were all killed in this war, and they met in this hospital where they were trying to help people, and Xavier was using his psychic powers to help people heal, and there's an attack in that hospital, and a few of the doctors and the nurse are kidnapped, and Professor X and Magneto, in this flashback, Professor X, before he lost the power of his legs, so the two of them are fighting to free these couple of prisoners, and at this point they reveal their powers to each other. They were working together, but they had no idea that both of them were mutants. So Magneto, or Magnus, at this point in time, turns his power on the guards, and he's just up for killing them. And Professor X stops him in his tracks at this point, and they haven't spoken for years. So we cut back to the present, and Beast is now in court for his hearing, and he's getting turned down bail. They think that he's too dangerous to be let out. That's cutting a long story pretty short. But Wolverine and Cyclops are in the back of the court watching everything take place. And during the hearing, a Beast breaks through the wall, and it is Sabretooth. Wolverine straight away recognises who he is, and Sabretooth is screaming, "Let him go." So at this point in the story, if you don't know the history of the show or where it went and whatnot, Sabretooth is part of Magneto's bunch, but he breaks into this courtroom in support of Beast. Let him go, but he's, stern on rest as usual. This is Magneto's signature battle plan, is to just cause as much trouble as they can. So the guards turn on Sabretooth, and at this point, Cyclops doesn't know who he is, and his first reaction is to help the mutant. But Wolverine is like, no chance. And, they're going to kill him, Wolverine, we need to help him. And Wolverine just folds his arms and he says, good. So Sabretooth gets taken down by the guards, knocked unconscious. Cyclops knocks the guards out with a light blast from his eyes. Sabretooth is then taken back to the mansion and for medical help, and Wolverine's not happy with this in the slightest, and at one point he actually sneaks into the infirmary, cuts the cables from the support machine that he's attached to, and he's going to take Sabretooth out of the mansion, get rid of him, at which point Xavier turns up alongside Cyclops. They stop him dead in his tracks, and Xavier's like, you take this guy out of here, don't you bother coming back. At this point, there is an attack started by Magneto. The X-Men have to go stop that. So, foiling his tracks for getting rid of Sabretooth, Wolverine turns on Professor X and he's like, how come we have to take out your enemy, but when it comes to one of mine, we can't? Sort of thing. So they are loggerheads in this episode and the next, to be fair. And Wolverine being Wolverine is always hot-headed at the best of times. So off they go. Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, they take on Magneto. He's at a military base and he's getting prepared to launch these rockets, and he's armed the warheads, and he has actually set the actual base that they're launching from as the target. So the X-Men come. Again, Magneto starts offering them to join him in mutant liberation. They turn him down, of course, being part of the X-Men, and Xavier's plans of, humans and mutants can coexist. Of course, Magneto's not at all happy to hear this. They're no match for him at this point. Like, Storm tries a lightning strike at him. He's like, are you stupid? Do you not remember that electricity and lightning and magnetism are very closely related? So he's pretty much, anything she throws at him, he can quite easily bounce off in that regard. Wolverine, of course, we don't cover it as much in this episode, but he is, his skeleton is covered in adamantium, a metal. Of course, Magneto using the power of magnetism. Wolverine's not a big threat to him. Cyclops is pretty much taken down very easily as well. So Magneto, knowing that these rockets are about to take off, leaves him to it. Off he goes. The base has been evacuated at this point. Everybody's gone, and the rockets launch. Storm decides she's gone off on a mission to actually blow them up in the sky, which is going to kill her, of course, but Professor X gets in their head and gives her the the plans of how these rockets work, and she can use her powers to disable them, and then with the power of her, work, having control of the atmosphere and storms and that, she manages to use her powers to safely dump them into the ocean. But she falls unconscious through the effort of doing this, and the X-Men return to base. And at the end of the episode, we see Magneto just standing on his own, thinking to himself, Xavier, how could you turn against your own kind? And that's pretty much where he closes it out. Great episode, great introduction to Magneto, and again, some of the stuff that they're putting forth in this episode, very, very grown-up stuff for an animated show. I still can't believe that we were coming from school and sitting down to watch cartoons in the afternoon, and you're getting some real childish stuff. Then the X-Men would come on, and you'd be beating the face with this stuff that was just, I think a lot of us that watched this show back in the day grew up to be fantastic people because of it. So that's going to do it. We'll be back soon for episode 4.